We are fortunate to hear from Dr. Rogelio Cardona Rivera, who is an assistant professor and founding faculty of the Division of Games. Dr. Cardona Rivera's research focuses on developing artificial intelligence tools to augment the design of story games. And a very strange small world coincidence, it turns out that we worked on a research project together at NC State University, which I had forgotten because we overlapped only by 1 year. So please welcome to the stage Dr. Cardona Rivera.
Hey. So, when I was 5 years old, I struggled to see aspects of my environment. My parents actually took me to an ophthalmologist, and they discovered that I had amblyopia, or colloquially known as lazy eye. And it was of such severity that not only did I have to wear really thick glasses and an eye patch, I actually was a candidate for surgery. And my parents, being concerned with this prognosis, in fact, did what I think most parents in that situation would have done, which is buy me a Super Nintendo. And their rationale was, I have to work out my eye in order to overcome amblyopia, and they figured I would be motivated to do that if I played video games that required a lot of eye movement. And as it turns out, 4 months later, in the pre-surgery check-in, my eye doctor was mesmerized, couldn't believe the level of improvement that I had shown, and in fact, told my parents that surgery was no longer required. I am living testament of the transformative power of video games. and I mean that quite seriously. What's remarkable is that despite that transformative potential, we don't have access to it. We don't have access to the principles and the tools that would help us use that potential for the betterment of society. And so I want to unpack that because I want to show you how I'm working toward changing that. Video games are a cultural phenomenon, and in fact, in this audience, out of every 5 of you, I would say that at least 3 play video games. And this does include folks who play the standard games like Mario, but it also includes people who play Candy Crush, and let's see how many folks I can grab here. It includes people who play the New York Times Games app. So this means that you are a video game player, whether you want to admit that or not. Now, this reach that games have results in real economic power. And as a point of comparison, the box office last year raked in about $8.7 billion, and in that same time, games accrued $57 billion. So what is it about these environments, these experiences, that make things so compelling that we want to engage in them? Well, in short, I would say that these are sandbox environments that enable us to practice creativity in overcoming the challenges that they pose. They allow us to enact agency in making decisions and choices and seeing the results of them in a way that's intrinsically rewarding and important for our quality of life, both physical and mental. And they also afford unique avenues of self-expression by giving us opportunities to explore identities through things that we say, things that we do, how we even dress in these worlds. Now, the truth is, creating these compelling experiences is not trivial, and in fact, it's quite the feat. And I want to give you a sense of the scale that we're talking about when I'm mentioning the challenges of designing and developing these games. So consider Choose Your Own Adventure books. Now, these books cast you in the role of the protagonist, where you are tasked with making choices that advance the plot. If you want to storm the castle, go to page 9. If you want to instead sneak your way in, go to page 17. Now, The Cave of Time, released in 1979, boasted about 28,000 words when it came out. Now, consider the game Star Wars: The Old Republic, released in 2011, and you can still play this game to this day. But back when it was released, it boasted about 1 million words of content that you would play through. And this is about 200,000 lines of dialogue, conservatively estimating at about 5 words per line of dialogue. This is as if you had a choose-your-own-adventure book the size of the Harry Potter saga, which clocks in at about 1,094,000 words. And so this is the scale that we are dealing with. Remarkably, games have been around for over 50 years, and it is striking that we don't have access to principles and tools to help us contend with the design challenges. And I know this because I look to the state of the industry. Despite record profits, despite the lessons learned along the way, despite the cultural reach that games have, we end up struggling to architect these worlds. And in fact, it results in toxic management practices that result in 80 to 90-hour work weeks, a lot of employee turnover, and even studio closure. I look at this and I say to myself, something has to change, because I know firsthand the transformative potential that these games have. And I also know that the state of the art will not let us unlock the potential in order to reap the benefit for humankind. And so, I have a vision of what could be. This vision is deceptively simple. We should be able to architect these worlds in the way that we architect bridges. When we do so, let me explain that. When we do so, we rely on scientific principles like Newtonian physics to let us predict ahead of time how the bridge will withstand a continuum of loads. We also rely on behavioral principles to help understand how these bridges will shape the flow of traffic. And we also rely on aesthetic principles to help judge how this bridge fits into the environment within which it is built and make aesthetic judgments of beauty around these edifices. We should be able to do this, and we cannot. But I do have some good news for you. At the University of Utah, we are committed to filling this gap. And truthfully, we do rely on similar principles when we architect these virtual worlds. But virtual realities are like life, not lifelike. And we don't have access to a science that helps us make these designs more intentional rather than accidental. And so, at the University of Utah, we're committed to advancing ideas that help us understand games. We're committed to sharing those ideas with our students and our communities to help reap the benefits of games. And we're committed to making the world a better place through the games that we build. How do we do that? How do I do that? I pursue this science of game design through the use of artificial intelligence. Now, let me anticipate what you might be thinking, because what I am not proposing is the use of something like ChatGPT to architect these worlds. And it's not that I'm wanting to prompt the creation of these environments in an engine using this kind of interface. In fact, people have tried this, and game designers had a lot to say about it, from lukewarm admiration to open disdain, even going so far as to say that it's actually more cumbersome to develop games in this manner. Instead of pursuing what the people are telling us is senseless automation, what I am seeking is responsible augmentation through the use of AI. And the vision is I'm seeking to create the digital camera of games. The point and shoot, when it was introduced as an innovation, radically democratized access to technology, to photography, and made it so that you no longer had to rely on physics and optics to know how to light and frame your subjects, or chemistry to know how to reveal the film to know what you were doing when you were taking photos. Cameras allowed people to engage in photography as a kind of reflexive practice. And so too do I want to pursue research that allows these AI systems to reflect back to you so that you can anticipate what the effects of your games will be on the people that will eventually play them as you build them, such that you might architect on the basis of blueprints for your games. In the way that blueprints might also guide you for the creation of bridges, they will guide you for the creation of these virtual environments. And in so doing, we could unlock the potential of these games for the benefit of kids like me and for people like you. Thank you.